OK, Mohammed Hijab, your response to that?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that wherever we see suffering, wherever we see death and destruction, especially of young people, assault, sexual assault, we see Dershowitz to the rescue, the former defense attorney of Jeffrey Epstein, a man himself accused of rape.
I knew we would get to that. I
didn't give you permission to interrupt me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me. I stayed quiet when you were talking.
Okay, here's what I would say.
I stayed quiet when you were talking.
Hang on. Here's what I would say.
Stick to the merits.
I didn't give you permission.
Listen, Mohammed, attacking a lawyer for defending people is a stupid argument.
Well,
right?
I'm not making an argument yet.
Well, you're just using an ad hominem attack straight off the top.
Has he got leverage on you? Is that
no, he's a brilliant lawyer.
I saw your picture with Maxwell. He's got leverage on you.
He's a brilliant lawyer.
Are you saying that because he's got leverage on you?
I met Ghislaine Maxwell for 5 minutes at a book launch.
You look very happy with her.
Well, I didn't know anything about her at the time, other than she was the daughter of the man that
We're talking about the biggest sexual scandal in the last 100 years.
Who I never met Jeffrey Epstein or ever knew him. Alan Dershowitz was wrongly accused of various things in relation to Jeffrey Epstein.
How do you know it's wrongly?
Because they've all been...
Why are you defending him?
They all turned out to be nonsense. He won a court case about it.
Why are you not looking at me when I'm speaking to you?
Well, I can turn to you, but there are three of us involved in this.
Yeah, you're speaking to me, so
okay, let me make things clear. Yeah. I never met Jeffrey Epstein. I met Ghislaine Maxwell for 5 minutes.
You look very happy in that picture.
Okay, if you want to use that as an ad hominem attack
on me, why are you defending him?
Hang on. A picture taken in 2013.
He spoke for 3 minutes, I spoke for 20 seconds.
I'm defending him because your first attack on him is to attack him as a lawyer because he defends bad people.
That's fine.
Here's a little secret for you, Mohammed. All lawyers do that.
No, but hold on, we're not talking about bad people. We're talking about, excuse me, you've had enough speaking. I'm talking about a person who, after the fact, said that he was proud to defend him after the allegations come out. You still want to... Do you condemn Dershowitz?
For what?
For defending Epstein.
I have defended...
And being proud of defending Epstein.
Do you defend him? It's not for me to defend him.
I have defended some of the best people in the world.
Okay, Alan, you defend yourself.
No, why should he defend himself? I haven't even spoken for 20 seconds.
Alan can defend himself.
But let me speak for more than 20 seconds. I haven't even made my point yet.
I helped to defend Bill Clinton.
Now, is it?
I've helped to defend some of the finest people in the world, and I've also helped
John
to defend
Lennon,
some of the
he
worst.
defended. Is that a terrible crime?
He was not proud of defending John Lennon in the same way as he announced that he was proud of defending Epstein.
What's this got to do with Israel?
This has got to do with the fact that this man, the credibility of this man is on the line. He defends Israel on the one hand, and on the other hand, he defends Epstein. I think the public should know this.
Do you want me to play? Do you want me to play the clips?
He's proud of it.
Mohammed, do you want me to play the clips of you
that do
the rounds on social media saying some very inflammatory things? Do you want me to?
Why are you not looking at me?
Because I'm looking at the three of us.
I'm right here.
I can turn to you, and the viewers see me and you looking at
me man to man.
Fine.
Look at me man to man. Look at my eyes.
Yes, it's called an aesthetic thing for videos.
Okay, now, the first thing I wanted to say was that this man's credibility is something which is shocking that we're even entertaining.
What do you base that on?
On the fact that he actually defended Epstein, and after the fact, he said he was proud of it. He was in Epstein's vicinity. He had a massage in his vicinity. This is the kind of person that we're having on the show defending Israel. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, in the first interaction where me and you were talking about October the 7th, we spent about 3 or 4 minutes actually talking about sexual assault allegations, if you remember that. And actually here, what we have is Israeli soldiers like Mir, from Unit 100, and that's on The Guardian, it's on Sky News, it's on all these kinds of platforms, coming out, and there's videographic evidence of him raping another man. I haven't heard condemnation from you, and I don't expect to hear it from him who defended Epstein. But this shows you the bias in the coverage for a year, where we know the ICJ have said that there's a plausible genocide.
You haven't been watching my show.
I think I have.
No, you haven't.
Have you spoken about me?
You're talking complete bullshit.
Okay, tell me why.
Right?
Tell me why.
Because, A, I did condemn what you've just talked about in a previous debate.
Good.
Right?
Dershowitz, do you condemn it?
Yes, of course. I condemn any rape of anybody and any assault on anybody who's in captivity.
And you also condemn the right of rape protest that took place in Israel. And you acknowledge that there's a problem in Israel with this?
If any rapes took place, they will be investigated. They will be fully investigated. They will be court-martialed.
Do you acknowledge that there's a problem in Israeli society?
And if anybody is convicted of that, they deserve their punishment.
Do you acknowledge that there's a problem in Israel?
What about the problem with Hamas raping women.
I have no compunction.
On October the 7th.
I have no compunction condemning Hamas for anything that they've done. You've said that. You've asked me before, and I've told you before. I have no moral scruple. Neither do the majority of the Muslim world. I tell you now, anything that Hamas has done, we have condemned in the first instance. But we're not seeing the same level of coverage with Hamas as we are seeing with these people that are shoving rods off people's ass and raping people on videographic evidence. And you have 3,000 people, you talk about the hostages, you've got 3,000 people in essentially captivity, according to Human Rights Watch and B'Tselem, who are prisoners of war of Israel. And we're spending a fraction of the time speaking about them as compared to speaking about the hostages. This shows you the inherent bias.
Well, there's no comparison. There's no comparison between innocent hostages who did nothing wrong and people who are being charged with criminal offenses.
They're not charged with criminal offenses. That's why you're meant to know better. You're meant to know better than that.
But they are charged with security
criminal
offenses. But you
They're not charged with criminal offenses.
Compare.
They are arrested without charge.
You can't compare a 3-year-old baby.
They're not charged with criminal offenses.
Don't shout over each other. We can't hear the answer.
He's lying to the public.
Allow him to respond.
To somebody who's a member of Hamas.
Say that
Sorry,
again.
Adam, we couldn't hear you because he was shouting.
I was shouting. Say it
Alan,
again.
he says the 3,000...
I'm saying you can't compare
Alan, he
a
says the
3-year-old baby...
Alan, just to be clear, he said the 3,000 people he's talking about were all arrested without charge, and therefore they've not been charged with crimes. Your response to that?
Well, if they were, they should be released. Nobody should be arrested without charge. If you're held for a security reason,
pathetic.
I will say what I want. It's
great,
uncensored.
Great.
Good boy.
Let me finish, please. Let me make my point.
Try and have a proper debate.
My point,
I'll
please?
say what I like.
Can I make my point? Let me make my point. Great Britain confined tens of thousands of people without charges during the Second World War.
Two wrongs
the
don't
United
make a
States
right.
Did the same.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Should we talk about what Hitler done? Let's talk about what Hitler done.
Let me make my point. I'm opposed to that. I wrote an article against administrative detention. But you can't compare that, no matter how bad it is. You can't compare it to 3-year-olds being kidnapped, to people being raped and murdered. You can't compare what happened on October 7th to what Israel has done
yes, you can't,
in terms of security prisoners.
There's no comparison at all. 100.
And stop
That's
interrupting
30 times
me, please.
more. That's 30 times more. If you want us to take you seriously, if you want us to take this coverage seriously, if you want us to take Western media seriously, then let's, for God's sake, talk about proportionality as your favorite word. We're talking about 30,000 people detained in prisons on the one hand, and 100 people who are hostages. And yet we have managed somehow to spend way more time proportionally.
You said 3,000 a minute ago. Which one is it? 3,000?
Sorry, 3,000. 3,000.
But not 30,000.
Not 30.
Okay,
3,000.
Get your numbers right if you're going to make that cut.
Okay, I misspoke.
Exaggerated 10 times.
Not a problem. He spoke about Iran. Let me ask you a question about it.
Tell you what, let me ask the question.
Sure, go ahead.
And you guys try and debate it.
Go ahead.
At the moment, Alan Dershowitz is being very civilised in the way he's debating.
I'm sure you're going to say that.
You're just making
might have
ad hominem
leverage on you.
attacks and shouting all the time.
He's your friend.
No one can understand it when you
have
shout all the time.
Have you met him before?
I know Alan well.
Oh, you know him well.
I respect him very much.
Oh, yes, you do.
He's one of America's top lawyers.
His top lawyers?
Yeah, he is.
And you're an unbiased person here on Central.
An unbiased person about Alan Dershowitz. Why?
Does he have leverage on you, Piers Morgan?
There's no leverage on me, no.
You've got a picture with Maxwell.
Yes, with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Did you go to the island?
No, I've never been to the island. I've never met Jeffrey Epstein.
Be honest.
I never spent more than 5 minutes with Ghislaine Maxwell. I've answered you. So what part of that wants to...
Do you condemn him being on the island? He's your good friend.
You can ask Dershowitz about Jeffrey Epstein.
You had a massage.
He represented him.
He said he didn't take his shorts off.
Do you know what?
That's
None of this has got anything to do with Israel.
He said he didn't take his shorts off when he was getting a massage.
Please, Mohammed.
Why is this uncomfortable?
It's nothing to do with the debate.
He didn't take his shorts off, but he's got his pants down now, hasn't he?
Can you stop it?
Why?
What's the point?
Why? He defended one of the most obnoxious people in the last 100 years. Why should I stop it?
Actually, what is going on right now in the Middle East is incredibly important.
Yes, and you have this man who's...
You are trivialising this. Well, if you didn't want to do a debate, don't agree to do it.
Who said I'm not going to do a debate? I'm saying this person who's defending Israel...
Stupid ad hominem attacks is pathetic.
Oh, okay. All right. He's your good friend. You want to defend him so much.
What are you talking about?
You're defending him.
Huh?
You're defending him. You're defending a monster, a pervert, an old pervert.
He's not a pervert or a monster.
Why is he not? He knew Epstein. And for us, there's good inference.
Why are you doing this, Mohammed?
Why not?
Because it's pointless. You may get a few clicks
ask your questions.
You might get a few clicks on it. So what?
It's not.
Ask your questions.
Let me be very clear. It's not pointless. He just called me a pervert. He will be sued now for defamation, and we will be able to resolve this
opinion.
in a court of law. I guarantee you that he will be sued for calling me a pervert.
You are a pervert
the woman
because you
who
are
falsely
acquainted with
accused
Jeffrey
me
Epstein.
Has now withdrawn her
Sure, I've got my own defamation cases. I know the law very well here.
That
you
she
can't
may have confused me with somebody else,
very well.
and
I
calling me a pervert will result in a defamation lawsuit in an American court and in a British court. I assure you of that. Let's move on to Israel now.
Why don't we move on to the debate?
Resolve this in court. Let's move on to Israel.
It's really, is there any point considering this?
Do you want to throw the towel?
No. What's the point?
We're
not doing the debate you were booked to do.
Do you want to both throw the towel?
You were not booked to talk about this.
Do you want to give up?
Just debate the issues.
Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about Iran. Let's talk about Iran.
Let's talk about Iran.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Do you support Iran?
Okay. Well, let me answer your question. Iran was attacked on April the 1st, right? It was attacked, the embassy of Iran was attacked in Syria by Israel. After that, on the first occasion, they then sent missiles and drones, correct? Now, my question to you is, does Iran have a right to defend itself? And if so, what is a proportionate response? Because you see, I've been having a moral quandary about the issue. Piers Morgan, what's a proportionate response for Iran?
I'll tell you what I think about Iran. I think Iran is an unbelievably nefarious place which has been fueling Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah for many years with a joint
Does it have a right to defend itself?
joint ideology that they want to eradicate Israel in any way they can.
Okay. Does it have
so
a right to
I
defend
think
itself?
Iran is one of the most despicable
Does it have a right to
regimes
defend itself?
in the world. I also think that right now the Iranian regime is in serious danger.
You look completely discombobulated.
What do you mean?
You look dishevelled.
I'm telling you what I think of Iran.
I'm asking you, do they have a right to defend themselves? Do you think they have a right to defend themselves? Both of you can answer the question. Do they have a right to defend? They were attacked. The sovereign nation was attacked. My question is, does it have a right to defend?
Iran has been fueling attacks on Israel now for what, 40 years?
I've been having a moral quandary about this. I've been having a moral quandary about Iran.
Have you?
Yeah, moral quandary, yes. Moral quandary, I don't know. Do they have a right to defend themselves? And if so, what is the proportionate response?
You're supporting Iran, to be clear.
I'm asking you, no,
Are you supporting Iran?
I'm not supporting, I'm antithetical to many of these organizations for my own purposes. But my question to you...
Do you support the Iranian regime?
Not unconditionally, but I support their right...
What conditions do you agree with them about?
Their right to defend themselves. Do you believe they have a right to defend themselves?
No, I think they're terrorists.
Oh, so they don't have a right to defend themselves? Iran does not have a right to defend itself?
They do, but they're not the ones...
So what is proportionate response?
They're not the ones...
What's the proportionate response?
Okay.
No,
can I answer it?
You asked this question to the people.
You're just going to keep talking. Can I answer it?
What's the proportionate response?
The proportionate response to Iran is to stop them trying to destroy Israel through their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. That's what they've been trying to do for many years.
What is a proportionate response of Iran after their embassy was smashed and destroyed in Syria and 16 people were killed? What's the proportionate response?
Well, what about the proportionate response to everything Iran's done?
Which is against the Vienna Conventions.
What about the response to everything Iran has been doing?
What did Iran do to Israel? Who did they kill? Who did they?
They never killed anybody.
Who did they?
How deluded are you, Mohammed?
Excuse me. Hold on. Which Israeli civilian have Iran successfully targeted? Give me one name, please.
You don't think Iran's been responsible for any Israeli civilian dying?
I'm asking you to edify me.
What about the way they funded Hamas?
You can both
slaughtered 1,200 people in Israel.
Iran in particular. I'm not talking about Hamas. We've spoken about Hamas at length. We're talking about Iran.
You do it through their
We're talking about Iran's old news. You're talking about
Let's let Alan respond.
Yes, go ahead. Who did they successfully target?
Well, let me respond.
Yeah, please, yeah.
The Iranians have been found by an Argentine court to have been guilty of killing hundreds of Israeli and Jewish people in Buenos Aires. They killed Marines through Hezbollah. They were combatants, but the attack on the Israeli Cultural Center, attack on the Israeli embassy were attacks, according to the Argentinian judicial proceedings, attacks on Israel, entitling Israel to engage in response. Now, let me explain what proportionality means, because you're missing the point. Proportionality doesn't require that a country that's attack back in proportion. Proportionality only means that if you're going to attack a mixed target that has civilians and combatants, the ratio of civilians to combatants must be proportional to the military value of the target. And that's what Israel has been trying to do. But Iran has killed thousands and thousands of Israeli and Jewish civilians over the years. So to defend somehow Iran and saying that they were innocent.
What kind of ratio in your understanding is acceptable?
Even the people who were killed
You've
in
spoken
the embassy
now. What ratio is acceptable?
Combatants who were legitimately killed.
Can you hear me or not?
As combatants.
What's an acceptable ratio for you?
So Iran has no right of self-defense against that. Israel was completely entitled to kill.
Let me answer what you've just said.
Israel was entitled to kill any combatant that was hiding in an embassy building.
Hold on. You've just conflated two things. You've spoken about the Argentinian case, which there is not an independent international investigation on, number one. And then you've spoken about, we speak about 1st of April. Was that a response to Argentina? It was not a response to Argentina. On the 1st of April, they bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria. They did not do so. They said that is a military base and that we're attacking. But we all know that in this country, for example, every single embassy has military attachés. They have military attachés. So if you go to the US embassy here in London, they have armed officers. Does that make it a viable target? Does it make the US embassy a viable target? The Russian embassy a viable target? This is clearly against the UN Convention. It's against the Vienna Conventions. You cannot attack. You cannot attack an embassy of another nation in another sovereign land. You cannot do that. And
so let me respond to that.
No, hold on.
Let him answer.
Let me respond to that. Let me respond.
It's been
it was not an embassy. It was an ancillary building being used as a military center to plan attacks against Israel. They used the pretext of it being a building somehow attached to an embassy. The evidence is very clear.
Which is?
And be happy to have them bring a lawsuit and see if it can be resolved in a court of law. But Israel was entitled to regard who was killed. The people who were killed were military people who were planning attacks on Israel.
That's not true.
Using an annex to a building to do it. Did that justify 3,000 rockets being sent into Israel?
Hold on. Let me respond.
180 ballistic missiles being sent into Israel?
Have you made your point?
Not.
Okay. The response is as follows. First of all, 16 people were killed officially, and of them, there were 2 civilians that were killed. So what you're saying is only military targets is flatly false, squarely false, barefaced lie. You're a liar, as you were a liar when you were defending Epstein. That's number one. Number two is, when you say that, okay, that was a response, when Iran then, on the 14th of April, responded with missiles, once again, how many casualties were there? How many casualties were there? 0. Just like there were 0 casualties when they responded recently in October. Not one person died except for one Palestinian, ironically enough, that was apparently killed in the October one. But in the April one, no one died. It was precise strikes at military bases. Number 2, you speak about this being a base. As I say now, if you look at Collins' dictionary right now, there's 2 aspects of what is a military base, vernacularly speaking. Number 1 is that there has to be weapons in that place, and number 2, that there has to be training of soldiers. This is usually understood as what is a military base.
That's just made up. Those are made up stories. There's no truth to that at all.
What's made up? Which part of it is made up?
There's no truth to that.
Let him respond.
I haven't finished my point. I haven't finished my point yet.
The fact that you need weapons.
Made a statement.
No, let me finish what I'm saying.
That's just made up. You don't need weapons to have a military base. It could be a command center where they're planning attacks.
Let me finish.
That's just made up.
Let me finish. The
more you say, the happier I am.
Okay. What I'm saying to you is that if you look at almost every Western government embassy in the West and outside of the West, they have military attachés. You can fact check this. You can go online. You will see in the US embassy, in the French embassy, in the British embassy, military guards, people there that have their own weapons and guns. So according to you, that would be a military base. See, are they then legitimate targets?
What happened in this case was they used an annex of a building
Can we then contravene the Vienna agreements? Can we then conventions?
You don't know what you're talking about. You have no knowledge of international law or diplomacy law, the law of war.
You haven't got one peer-reviewed. You don't have one peer-reviewed work on international law. And Jimmy Carter, the former U.S. president, said you have no knowledge of Palestine. Don't speak to me about Palestine and issues. Jimmy Carter, a former president of the United States, as you acknowledge, you've written it in your book. He says that you have no knowledge of the Palestine issue. Jimmy Carter said that. Don't speak to me like that.
Well, you want to hear something?
Yeah,
It
the only
was
thing
in
you
my
have knowledge
book.
about is where the doors and the rooms and the masseuses are.
It was in the back cover. It was the back
Epstein's
cover of
house.
my book.
That's what you have knowledge of.
I've written 13 books.
Did you touch Virginia?
Did you touch her? On Israel.
Did you touch Virginia?
Some of which
Did you touch her? Did you touch that woman?
Never heard of her. Never met her. Never met her.
Don't lie.
Never. She.
Don't lie to me. Did you touch that woman or not?
I'm telling you, I never met her, and she acknowledged
Did you touch that woman?
Under oath
Did you
that
sexually
she may
assault her?
have
You have no knowledge of
his
his case, do you?
else.
You wouldn't be
I'm asking
saying
him a
that.
question.
You're repeating
Why are you
serious
defending him?
information. Because he
over.
won a case. It was proven to be lies.
I'm asking him a
Why
question.
are you doing this?
I'm asking him a question.
This is not about Israel.
This is
You're trying to be a clever dick, but all you're doing is inviting a lawsuit from London, which you will get.
I'm ready for it.
You are?
Yeah.
Really?
I've got 4 defamation cases, all of which your friend Douglas Murray, I'm taking him to court.
Well, good luck with taking on Annan on this, is all I would say.
I'm ready
to
for
you.
him. Oh, you love him, don't you?
No, he just won cases.
I just wonder what he has.
Defending himself.
I just wonder what leverage he has. Does he have any leverage on you?
God, this is pathetic, man.
I don't know why you keep defending
He's
him.
now accusing me of
supporting on the show. Why are you doing it now?
He's a monster. Right? This man is a monster.
Well, why debate then?
Because I don't mind debating monsters, just like you don't mind debating monsters. We have that in common.
Do you want to finish the debate about the bigger picture or not?
I'm speaking about it. You guys are the ones rattled. I'm not rattled.
No one's rattled. We just think it's pathetic.
You're both rattled.
We think it's pathetic because you don't understand what you're talking about.
Really? That's just an assertion, really, isn't it?
No, you're just trying to get your clicks on X, and that's fine.
Oh, is that what you do? Is there anything wrong with that?
No, you know what? Try and debate the issue.
You always brag about it, my friend.
Try and debate
you
the
brag
issue.
about it myself. We've got 1 million views, 2 million views. You talk about it all the time.
Alan,
according to the US,
now we have
Gaza,
another count,
the West Bank, and East Jerusalem
wait a minute. We have another
an
count
occupied
in the
territory.
lawsuit against you. You've accused me of plagiarism, even though Harvard University conducted a thorough and complete study, totally vindicated
if you're going to do something,
and blamed it on Finkelstein, who then lost tenure for making a false charge against me of plagiarism.
Now,
but
you
you're repeating that charge.
Joan Peters'
Count
book.
2.
No problem. That's according to
What?
Norman
I plagiarized
Finkelstein,
my own
who
book?
debated you on Democracy Now! You plagiarized that book, and he showed you evidence in that debate. That's one thing. The second thing is
Harvard University did a thorough study, found out that Finkelstein had made up
Let him respond. If you're going to make these allegations,
he
Alan can
lost
respond.
his position as a professor, but you've accused me of plagiarism. Count 2 in the civil
I'm ready.
place that I will be filing against you.
I know defamation laws in this country.
More
than you know. Yes, I do, because I've had 4 cases.
Don't.
I've had 4 cases. And moreover, and I've been the person taking the other person to court, including your good friend Douglas Murray, which I've got 2 cases against him. But what I'll tell you is that you probably know nothing about defamation law, just like you have no information, no knowledge, no peer-reviewed journal on international law. You're completely dumb on these issues, because if you're saying to me...
55 books. I've written 55 books, many of them prize-winning books.
You're not an authority in international law.
All kinds of awards,
are you an authority in international law?
And I have won defamation cases.
Are you a scholarly authority in international law?
First Amendment.
All right, we're going around the houses. Alan, let me ask you this. One of the many problems I have with what Israel's been doing in terms of the scale of what it's been doing, but also what has been going on the West Bank with the increased settlements, very aggressive expansion of settlements, I think is completely outrageous.
I agree.
But once again, you said before...
Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, we can.
Well, Alan's agreed on that.
I am opposed to Israel's policies on the West Bank. I think Israel should continue a military occupation of the West Bank, just like I thought it should have continued a military occupation of Gaza. But I'm opposed and have been opposed to civilian settlements since 1967. Right? And I'd like to see them ended in a process that leads to a 2-state solution. By the way, I'm curious whether my fellow guest here supports the right of Israel to exist as the nation-state of the Jewish people alongside a Palestinian state. Do you agree that Israel has the right to exist as the nation-state of the Jewish people? Yes or no?
I think it's a viable option. In 2002, not just Hamas agreed to this, by the way, in what's called the Arab Initiative. The Arab
Convention. They didn't.
Hold on, You've just asked me a question. You've asked me a question. You can check me. You can fact check me. In 2002, there was something called the Arab Convention. And in fact, Iran itself was part of it, even though it's not an Arab country, but it was part of the 2002 Arab Convention. And they both said, so long as Israel does not occupy Gaza, it does not occupy the Golan Heights, and it does not occupy the West Bank, which you just advocated for, then there can be a two-state solution. Even Hamas, Hezbollah mentioned the same thing.
That's
That
totally
Hezbollah
false.
mentioned this point.
That's totally false.
Hezbollah mentioned this, and Iran agreed with it. And members of the IOC agreed with it. Hold on. Members of the IOC.
Have they recently recognized Israel's right to exist? Has Iran recognized Israel's right to exist? Now. I'm not talking about 10 years ago. I'm talking about now. Does Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran recognize Israel's right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people?
Alan, let me ask you the other thing that I find really difficult, and Thomas Friedman wrote a very good column for the New York Times today, which I read just before we started this, basically saying that Israel seems to have no plan for what happens after this. And in fact, the UAE, who've normalized relations with Israel, has already offered to go into Gaza at the end of this war in Gaza and to help build a coalition to rebuild Gaza and get the people back on track.
I agree.
But Netanyahu is refusing to countenance that. He's refusing to countenance the idea of a two-state solution. You know, I've said for a while, I think Netanyahu is becoming a massive problem in this. And it's also hard, as Thomas Friedman said, to avoid the conclusion that Netanyahu is acting in self-interest, because the more he's been attacking Hezbollah, the more popular he's grown. Secondly, he has these corruption charges awaiting him the moment this is all over. There's no incentive, actually, for him right now to try and bring peace anywhere. And he doesn't really sound like a man who wants to bring peace anywhere.
He didn't accept it in 2002.
Let Alan respond to that.
Why should he respond twice?
Because I'm asking Alan.
I would like to see a resolution of Gaza, much like the resolution of Nazi Germany after the Second World War, a Marshall Plan, an effort to rebuild it, an attempt to occupy. What happened in Germany was occupied by 4 countries: France, Russia, Britain, and the United States. I would like to see a rebuilding of Gaza. I think the people of Gaza are entitled to a Hamas-free government, perhaps even a democratic government. I would like to see that on the West Bank. I am a strong supporter of a two-state solution in which Israel can live in peace. That's all Israel has ever wanted since 1948, when it was attacked in a genocidal war. 1967, 1973. All Israel wants to do is live in peace. And if Israel can live in peace with a Palestinian neighbor that's peaceful, that would be my
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that as an ambition?
Well, he said all Israel wants to do is live in peace. And I think what Israel wants to do is have pieces of other people's land. And as he's just agreed a second ago, and you didn't even challenge him on it, which I find quite incredulous actually, is that he said, I think that the West Bank should be military occupying Israel should be military occupying the West Bank. He says that.
Absolutely.
Now, occupation.
Of course, as long as there's belligerency, there should be an occupation.
Why are you interrupting me? I've let you speak for a very long time. I've let you speak for a very long time. Now you're interrupting me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me. What I'm saying to you is, according to international law, there cannot be occupation of one sovereign nation over another. It doesn't seem like you care about international law. What do you mean?
Wrong. No, you're just wrong.
Okay, just be quiet for a second.
United States occupied Japan. The United States occupied Germany. Great Britain occupied Germany. You can have a military occupation as long as there is belligerency that continues.
Your former friend Epstein, and be quiet for a second. Pretend I'm Epstein, your former friend, and be quiet and listen to what I have to say. Yeah? Whether the United States of America did it or not is not an indication of the legality of something. Occupation
it's legal.
Occupation is by
military occupation is legal while belligerency continues. Okay. That's the law.
Are you going to be quiet? Are you going to be quiet? I've let you speak for about 3 or 4 minutes uninterrupted. He asked you 2 questions, and I've stayed quiet. Why are you okay? I'm saying that military occupation of one sovereign nation over another is not something that international law accepts because it contravenes the
false. False. You're false.
So give me the evidence to the contrary. Give me I'm waiting for you.
It's clear that every country that has had a war has occupied the losing country until belligerency is over. Once belligerency is over, as it was in Germany and Japan, 2 or 3 years after the war, the occupation ended.
So why is it that if you're saying
military occupation is permissible as long as there's belligerency? Civilian occupation is not.
If what you're saying is true, why have the organs of the United Nations condemned the occupation of Israel? Why? the ICC, the ICJ.
They have condemned the civilian aspects of the occupation. They have condemned the building of settlements, which I also condemn.
What
I'm
you're
talking
saying
about a military
is
occupation.
You're lying just like you had to when you defended the...
Stop it, Mohammed, for goodness sake.
Why?
It's pathetic.
Why? Why is it pathetic?
Attacking lawyers for defending people is so pathetic.
Being proud of it, yeah.
Of all the ad hominem attacks you could use, it is the least effective
what do you think of Epstein?
and the most embarrassing.
You're defending him too much today.
I think Epstein was a disgusting human being.
So he's proud of defending him. Do you condemn him for that?
Well, I just don't care. I'm talking about Israel.
Oh, you don't care now, but why is it disgusting?
I'm talking about Israel and the Middle East.
Okay, so let's go back to the point. He was just advocating occupying the West Bank, Israel occupying the West Bank. We got to the point where he was saying that's acceptable. I'm saying that if that's acceptable from an international law perspective, then you would expect the ICC and the ICJ and these organs of the United Nations to agree with him on that assessment. They have not agreed with him on that assessment. No, even the United Kingdom doesn't agree with him on that assessment. The national position on the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank is that it's illegal. It's effective military control. So you don't know what you are talking about. And if that was possible, if it's okay for one nation, a sovereign nation, to go ahead and occupy another one, then sorry to say, Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, the same thing, the same argument can be made.
What you're saying, your position is that when a country is attacked and it wins the war, it must leave the next day. No country has ever done that. You continue the military occupation until all belligerency ends.
Many of the conventions that were put in place were put in place after World War II.
Ends in the Gaza Strip,
you asked me a question.
The occupation should end.
Okay.
There should not be civilian settlements.
So it's a fallacy.
But there should be a
this
military attempt to control belligerency. That's the law.
You asked me your position, and then you've
Well, he tried to answer you, but once again, you shouted over him. So people can't hear the answer.
Wait a minute, do you agree with him?
What about whether I agree with him or not?
Do you agree with him?
Let the man
Why are you
answer
running
your
away
question.
from this? Do you agree with
you
the
ask
legitimacy
a
of
question and you
occupation?
shout over the answer.
Is it okay for one country to occupy another sovereign nation? Is it okay or not?
Do you know what is okay? I've had
yes
enough
or no?
of this. I'm done.
Oh, you give up?
Yeah, I'm exhausted. I need a break. I need a cup of tea. Alan, thank you for your patience. I asked you to have a civilised debate. You tried, despite extreme provocation,
of course,
on a very personal and ill-informed way, you have managed to be civilised. Mohammed,
I'm sure you're going to say that. He's your friend. He's a good friend.
I appreciate
I like
that.
Alan. I respect Alan.
I'm sure you do.
And you, Mohammed, let yourself down today.
I think you let yourself down.
I'm sure the people that follow you on
He's a monster.
Cheering you on.
He's a monster.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay, he defended a monster. You agree with that?
Person who's behaved
did he offend the monster?
The only person who's behaved in a monstrous way in this debate.
Okay, whatever. That's your opinion. That's your opinion. You've given up this debate.
No, I've actually run out of time. We're running 2.5 minutes over time. As you know, you were booked till 5 o'clock. It is 5:03.
I don't even know
We've
that.
actually run out of time.
Fantastic.
But we've also booked to debate something that you've rarely spent much time on debating because you were far too busy scoring personal, cheap little jibes, ill-informed jibes.
Whatever. You do. It's good. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
And I always think
what's good for the goose is you can't handle it. You can dish it out, but you can't take it.
Oh, I can.
You've got a weak chin.
I can take anything, son.
You've got a heavy punch, but a weak jaw.
I always think when people get personal and abusive like you have, it's because they can't argue the argument.
You're both weak.
They can't argue the argument.
Whatever.
So people who can't win an argument, the normal way of debating,
you've just run away from this
ad hominem attacks, and personal abuse.
Sure.
That's what you've done.
I think you've given up on this debate. I think you've
and you let yourself down, Mohammed.
I think you have both given up because you realised that what you were spewing was false, and you were talking about the pager attack, and you said about it that was an act of military brilliance. I'm sure if it happened here in Sainsbury's and a little white boy was killed, you wouldn't say that, would you?
You know what? Like
You've also let down the Palestinian people. You've also let down the Palestinian people.
He has let down the Palestinian people.
Oh, sure, whatever. I think
agree.
you both let yourself down. I think you've both given up.
Okay.
And I think the standing 10 count has been done, and I think the white towel has been thrown in.
Yeah.
And I think the people can judge what I've done today.
Okay. You know what? On that, I think we can all agree. People can watch your performance in the last hour, and they can judge accordingly. And let me tell you, Mohammed, they will. But thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming in. Alan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.